Alexandria Webb from Nutrient Rich Lifestyle, and today I'm cooking Osso Bucco, or beef shanks. So, I already have my beef shanks here. They are seasoned with sea salt and fresh ground black pepper. I probably have about 3.5 pounds of them. And my skillet is nice and warm, nice and hot. I'm going to turn it up a little bit for us. And then I have some lard in there that I rendered. I love to cook meat with lard. It's really stable at high temperatures. It has vitamin D. So I'm going to brown the meat. So typically Osso Bucco is browned and then it's like simmered or braised for a while. So I'm going to do that traditional sort of preparation. So Osso Bucco, or beef shank, similarly in a lamb, it's called lamb shank. It's the part of the leg, and so you get a nice leg bone in there. Ooh. See that? And some meat, some tendons, and some of them you actually get some marrow inside the bone. Let's see. Yeah, like that one. You can see the marrow in the bone. I really like to cook meat on the bone when I can and slow cook it. So the reason is when meat is cooked on the bone, you're getting a lot of those minerals that are really densely populated inside the bone. You also get the wonderful flavor from the bone and the marrow and the tendons that are connecting the muscle to the bone, just like in our bodies, are also full of collagen. They're made out of collagen fibers, so that's really great for our ligaments and tendons and skin and nails and hair. And it's great to cook these slowly and in a moist environment, like in a Dutch oven or in a slow cooker, where the amino acids are going to stay intact. That's really great because it's a lot more digestible than, say, if we grill a meat. If we grill a meat, it gets to such high temperatures, and you hear about, that charred marks. Those are carbon, and it can be even carcinogenic. So it's really not the best way to eat meat if you're going to do that, every day. I wouldn't recommend grilling your meats every single day. Every now and then it's not a big deal. You're still getting a lot of the great nutrients from your grass-fed beef or your pasture-raised chicken. So, you don't need to freak out about how much you love your grilled steaks. But if you can, get out your slow cooker, get out your Dutch oven, and do some of this sort of slow cooking or braising of meat. It's really nutrient dense and it's really healing for the digestive system too. Okay, so I've only just sort of browned these a little bit on each side. My shanks are all browned and I placed them to the side here. And now we're gonna make the reduction sauce. Well, not quite yet, but we're gonna sort of get the basics down. So I'm using a lot of vegetables, but these are mostly vegetable scraps. So you'll see I have some tops from celery, I have some parsnips. I don't really have carrots right now, and some onion tops, onion ends, onion sides, skins. I even have some other scraps that I keep in my freezer. I'm gonna dump these all in here because I have a good 4 pounds of meat and I want to have a good flavor, but I don't really have like a whole carrot right now to use in this. This is another great way to just save some money. When you use the scraps of vegetables, you're still getting a lot of those vitamins and minerals in the broth that you create. So that's really nutrient dense, even when you wouldn't actually like chew on an onion top, Okay, so I'm just gonna dump these in this pot. Hopefully there's enough room in here. And then I'm going to put the beef on top. So in some Osso Bucco recipes, you'll see that they'll have you, dice or chop up all the vegetables and then you eat them later. I don't really like that because the vegetables get really mushy and I just don't really like that. So instead, in this recipe, I'm going to make a reduction sauce. So after this braises, I'm going to strain off all the vegetables and then reduce the sauce, the liquid, into like a nice demi-glace. Delicious. So I have some chicken broth here. I'm going to pour on top. You want to have a good amount of liquid in there. I'm also going to put in some tomato paste. That's just for flavoring. So for spices, there's already a lot of salt and pepper on the shanks themselves. So that should be good for that. And then I'm going to add some rosemary and thyme. I'm going to do like two heaping tablespoons of each, or heaping teaspoons. If you're using fresh herbs, which is great, maybe from your garden, then you want to use, 2 heaping tablespoons instead of teaspoons. All right, so I'm going to put a lid on this, and then I'm going to bring this to a boil. Okay, now my pot has come to a boil, and I'm kind of turning over the meat to get the tomato sauce down in the liquid. You can see I have a lot of liquid on mine. That's because I love the sauce and I want lots of sauce. You don't need to use that much liquid. I probably used 4 cups of broth and another 2 cups of water. But you could also just, you could use less if you have less, or if you don't really care about the sauce. And you can do this in the oven, or you could transfer at that point to your slow cooker. And do it in the slow cooker, put it on low. I really like to do it as low and slow as I can if I have the time. If I don't have the time, you can push this up to 300 degrees for just a couple hours, or you can go 200 degrees and go all day. It's really just up to you and how tender you want your meat, or fall off the bone. That's going to be lower and slower. Or if you are in a hurry, you just kind of want to get it done, you want them to stick together more, then it's going to be faster and hotter. Okay, so our Osso Bucco has been in the oven for about 8 hours, and it should be extremely moist and falling apart. Like I said before, you don't need to cook it this long. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to remove the meat and set it aside, and then I'm going to strain out the vegetables and make a reduction sauce. Now you could just serve it as it is. You don't need to reduce this sauce because this is a great sort of broth sauce as it is. But I really like just that richness and thickness of a reduction sauce. So I'm going to make a sort of faux reduction sauce here with this. And you'll see, kind of like I said earlier, the veggies are really soft. Look at that. Smush. So not as fun for eating, even if you were using, like I'm using scraps, but even if you were using nice pieces of vegetables, you might not actually want to eat them because they're so mushy. So you can also see here some of the marrow in those bones. Definitely save the marrow, like that right there. It's really nutrient dense. Marrow, bone marrow is where red blood cells are created. So if you have any kind of a blood issue or immune system issue, bone marrow is going to be really good for you. Babies love bone marrow. It's really soft. It's a great first food. And if you can get your toddler to eat it, if they're not as stubborn as my toddler, then they'll probably really love it too and benefit from the nutrients and the fat in there. Okay, so now I'm going to strain out the vegetables. And while I'm doing this, I'm also going to turn on the stove so that this can start to come to a boil. Okay, so you can set the veggies to the side. And then here we have our sauce is coming to a simmer. And we're going to bring it to a low boil. So a classic reduction sauce is done with a double boiler. I don't have a double boiler, and if you don't have a double boiler, you can use this method as well. So you can see it's coming to a nice slow boil. I'm going to turn the heat down a bit. Try to maintain that boil. And I'm gonna stir it every now and then until it's reduced probably by half, or just until the thickness of my liking. So you can do the same. It's really relative how far you want to reduce it. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. And I'm gonna put my beef shanks back into the liquid because I want them to be nice and moist. Want them to get that goodness all over them. Whoops. You could also pour the sauce on top of the beef shanks individually, or, you know, when you plate them, or however you want to do it. And this same technique could be used, you know, just with like a good meat stock. And you could use it, you know, pour it over a steak. It's essentially like a demi-glace. And here's our final dish, Osso Bucco with a reduction sauce and a garnish of parsley. Laddie, what is this?
Osso Bucco. What's this?
What is it?
Osso